In this next series of videos, I'm going to talk to you about spaces and zones, and in this particular one, preparing a model for spaces. Now, spaces are used with most MEP disciplines to locate the various rooms in a building. However, they also include information about the 3D surroundings. Spaces are critical for analysing heating and cooling loads and calculating light levels. Zones, however, are groups of spaces that will be heated and cooled in the same manner and are important for energy analysis. A good way to view the zones in a building is to create colour schemes that graphically indicate the various zones, and we'll touch on that element in a different video. So, preparing a model for spaces. As we've said, spaces identify each room in a building and also provide information such as area, perimeter, and volume information about each space, and information is used in electrical, mechanical, and energy analysis. Spaces are similar to rooms created in Revit architectural. However, they contain more information for heating and cooling loads analysis. In MEP projects, you need to add spaces, not only to rooms but to shafts, chasers, plenums and other enclosed areas that would not normally be assigned by a room by the architect. But before we can add spaces to a project, there's a few things that we need to do. Firstly, we need to set up the room bounding status of each linked models so that the spaces identify elements such as walls and ceilings. Next, we need to turn on the area and volume computations so that the spaces will read the volume of the room correctly. And then thirdly, create views that display the spaces to make the process of adding and modifying spaces easier. So let's look at the first one. Set up the room bounding status of linked models. What we mean by this is I'll just quickly show if I try to create a space, we're in analysis here. If I try to place a space by clicking on the space and then putting it in this area here, you can see it doesn't fill the room. It's just a small rectangle in this area, and the same no matter which room we do. That's because we need to turn on the room bounding, which makes the room the boundary. As you can see here, we can highlight boundaries, but it makes the room about the boundary, so as when a space is created it fills that room. So we can't do this yet until we switch on room bounding. To switch on room bounding, all we need to do is click on the linked model, in this case the architectural background, and then we need to click on the edit type over here in the properties. We then go to this pop-up window, and as you can see in the constraints here, room bounding, there's a tick box. We need to tick that and then click on OK. Now that we've set the linked model to room bounding, we need to set the area and volume computations. To do that, all we need to do is down click on this arrow for spaces and zones and click on area and volume computations. The only thing we need to check here is we need to tick this box here, area and volumes, and we leave this area at wall finish and click on OK. Now if I was to try and place a space here, you can see it fills the room, but we're not going to do that yet. We'll cover that in a different video. And then thirdly, we need to create views for the spaces. So for spaces to work correctly in setup, we need to be working in a floor plan. So make sure you're in a floor plan, not a reflective ceiling plan. So anyone will do, such as this one. And then we're just going to duplicate this view. And then we're going to change the discipline to coordination. That'll move that all the way up here, and we're going to take away the HVAC. And then we're going to name this Okay. Right, what we need to do now is go into the visibility graphics, which is VV. And then we're going to go down to spaces, and we're going to expand the box, and we're going to click on interior and reference. Now what interior will do, interior will make the space appear green. I'll show you an example of this. In this area you can see that the spaces are green, and then we also have this crosshairs. So if we go back to our view, back into VV, we're going to tick these on in here. So we're in spaces, expand, tick on interior, and tick on reference. So this drawing is now ready, set up for creating the spaces. If you want to, whilst you're here, switch off anything that you don't want to see. So if you don't want to see, such as any of the ducks or anything like that, then this is where you time to set all this up, and it maybe even apply a view template so as you've got this ready.